Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast for quilters who are building a business while juggling real life.
I'm Tori from Hey Tori, a quilter, past pattern designer and teacher, and now a digital marketing coach for quilting entrepreneurs.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts, long arm quilter, pattern designer, and quilting instructor.
Between the two of us, we've taught workshops, launched programs, joined summits, and stayed up way too late trying to finish one more quilt binding.
On this show, we're sharing what's worked and what hasn't in our interviews from incredible guests, everyone from quilting solo business owners to CEOs.
So if you're running a quilting or creative business or dreaming about starting one, you'll find real talk, honest strategies, and a whole lot of support here.
So grab your notebook, grab your pen, and let's dive into another episode of Quilting on the Side. Welcome back to Quilting on the Side. I'm Andi, and I'm always so excited to sit down with Tori and talk about the quilting industry. And when I look out there, Tori, all of us are so isolated and we have this idea of solopreneur, but I think you and I have been really trying to build a community and develop this partnership that seems a little bit unusual. So, what are your thoughts and ideas about how we can spread this message of community and collaboration?
Well, I know that we tend to have this discussion, especially I listen to a lot of podcasts. So one of the questions that comes up within the quilting business podcast are how do we make the quilting industry stronger? Like how do we make it bigger? How do we help support each other? So we've come up with a few ideas on more practical ways to help each other and some more a few mind shift things where it's more of a mentality that we kind of need to not kind of, we need to step into in order for our overall industry to thrive, especially in this tech-driven world. We have to get the word out about the benefits and the fun and the wonderful things that we can use and develop and make and create with quilting and any hands-on craft, honestly. It doesn't have to just be quilting. So it can
Right.
be, yeah, it could be any hands-on craft. But yeah, we've got a list of things and we've gotten some questions that keep coming up and we've had a few discussions with guests that are like, how do we make this better? And nobody has we all have theories. We have a few ideas. Um and I think we have a few strong suggestions for today's episode to help at least get us started and in the right direction. And I'd like to start off with the mind shift change. So we talked about it before, a rising tide lifts all boats. That original concept is more of a financial concept, which matches businesses pretty well. But it also, what it does is it communicates this idea that we are better together and we're stronger together. And we can, and that is like the number one way to build your audience quickly and organically is to do things in collaboration. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, collaboration is the key because we all have our unique perspectives and talents and strengths, and just when you weave those all together, it obviously is going to make, you know, the sum is greater than its parts. It's going to make something new and wonderful when you incorporate all of those different aspects. And I always feel so connected to the whole past and rich history of quilting, that all these different people came together to enjoy the same central craft. And even just the idea of fabric, of weaving different threads together, and then you stand back and you're amazed at the creation. So yeah, that really resonates with me. um so yeah, how do we do this? What are some of your ideas, Tori?
Well, before we get too practical, one more mindset shift. There we go. And It's a question I get with a lot of my one-on-one clients, a lot of my group coaching clients where I have the digital marketing magic coaching program. So we talk a lot about what can we offer, how do we market it. So one of the questions on how do we offer, they my clients run into this idea that there is already people out there doing this. So why can like should I do
Why
it?
me? Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
why me? And it's this idea that it's too crowded, and it's not. The fact that somebody else is doing this and finding some success in it, or maybe a lot of success in it, means there is a proven path to get there. And you are bringing in, there's a path already there for you. But what you're doing is bringing in your own unique perspective. You're not copying what that other person is doing. You see their end product and you're like, that's great. I also love doing something very similar to that. And you take it and you run with it with your own personality, your own process, and your own platform because you're not invading their platform, right? You have your own Instagram, you have your own YouTube, you have your own email list, you have your own website. So you're bringing yourself and your creativity to this craft. And if someone else is doing it, again, that means there is already a market there, which is amazing. So if you keep in mind that the handicraft industry, especially it's collaboration over competition. There is room for everyone and it is not too crowded. It's like me and Andy could teach the exact same thing. In fact, we have taught the exact same thing. When we were at QuiltCon together with the same booth, we both wanted to teach about color and we both had the same like monochromatic curriculum. It wasn't word for word. She had her own, I had my own take, but we could have said, "Oh, we better not touch this because we both do it." And instead, Andy talked about her book and her monochromatic process, and I took because we what we did. Sorry, let me explain that real quick. What I mean by that, we did 15-minute demos
Right.
every what was it, every hour, every other hour, something
Uh,
like that.
yeah, it may not have been quite that often throughout the day, but we each had a couple sessions a day.
Exactly. So I took one, she took the next one. I took one, she took the next one. And what I did was just allow us to explain our way of thinking. And the way that I think may not communicate as well to some people as Andy explaining the way that she thinks about monochromatic. And it just connects with different people. And somebody could also not trust me because of my age, which, sorry, Andy, I just called you old, didn't I? But with your maturity, it appeals to the quilting world because our customers are typically older.
Yeah. No,
That's
no,
what I'm
no,
getting.
and that, it's one of these things that, don't be embarrassed about that because there is an age gap. I'm the older sister. She's my little buddy. It's fine.
So there's that too, and then there may be a way that I talk really fast, and a lot of people don't like that. But Annie talks sometimes fast, a little bit more slower, especially when you're explaining things. You're really good about like slowing down and like making sure your instruction is very clear. Whereas I will like dive in. Sometimes my sentences don't even finish themselves, and like I'll talk very quickly. So there's that too. So you're bringing your personality, you're bringing your creativity, you're bringing your ideas and your own process. So I wanted to spend some time on that because it's a question that comes up a lot. Is that they're already doing it, and so should I do it too? Yes. The answer is always going to be yes.
Yeah. Uh, it just yeah, I'm struggling with this a lot because and I think that's a typical business owner thing that you aren't seeing the results that you wanted and you start doubting yourself and it spirals, but I'm too stubborn to give up, so I will keep showing up and that's what you have to do. So, yeah, and just find those ways to keep reaching out, and that's also one of the things that has been my strategy is I could sit over here and say, "Oh, well, they're already doing it, and they've got the big audience and that stuff, and I'm not getting invited to that event or whatever." And it's like, well, then, hey, I'm just going to do my own thing over here, and I'm going to invite people to join me, and I will be the
Good.
promoter
Yeah.
rather than the one that's waiting for the invitation. Create your own cool events, I guess, is always my strategy.
I know that we both believe in like reaching across that space too, and just knowing that. the person on the other end is looking for a collaboration that benefits both people. So as you grow, you can start reaching out to the bigger people and just being like, "Hey, I'm growing slowly. I just want to say hi. I just want to be involved in." I mean, you don't even say I want to be involved, but you can start involving yourself in their comments, on messages in Facebook groups or communities that you're already a part of where you're both in the same circle. And you can start that way where you're just talking to people and you're like, "Hey, I loved what you did." And actually, that gives us, I think, into some actual practical things that you can do to help raise the entire industry. Or at least I think, and I think Andy agrees with me that a lot of these, I think, will truly help raise our industry. So the first
Yeah,
thing.
because
Oh, sorry.
there are times when people have felt uh shunned, I guess. We hear those stories sometimes of people, going into quilt shops or attending a guild, and they were dismissed or not encouraged. And that I don't think that's true of the majority of the quilt industry. And so everything that we can do to spread that welcome is gonna improve things. So I want I'm not calling out any specific person. I'm just, reminding people that we always want to be welcoming and inclusive.
Definitely. Okay. So the first thing I have on our list, so we do have a little list. So the first thing I have on my list is feature each other's work. So actually use your platform, tag them on Instagram, put them in your stories. The stories last 24 hours. They're not going to overtake your Instagram. Actually reach out and talk to people about their stuff and then feature each other's work. It shows, like you can like pattern designers featuring other pattern designers where their work aligns or even doesn't align. You could just say, "Oh my gosh, look at what this person is doing. Like it's so cool. Go check them out." It sets you up as an authority. It sets you up as somebody who is a positive force in this space, which is great for not only business collaborations, but your ideal customer to see because it adds to that idea of values. So if one of your values, and this is kind of an aside that I'm just kind of jumping into, but if one of your values on your site is teamwork or collaboration or creativity, you can put that into action by showcasing others' work and
And
sharing other people's creativity.
I'm gonna just insert my own, aha moments on these as you bring them up, Tori, because most people will recognize that I do traditional piecing. So I stay away from that A word. I am not into applique at all. Tried it a few times. It's just not my thing. But if I were featuring quilts that have applique and lifting up those other quilters that I admire who are doing beautiful applique work, that just showcases the variety within the quilt industry. And like you said, it's going to appeal to different people and everybody will feel more comfortable that, oh, yeah, it's okay to have preferences like that. And, like you said, we can all lift each other up and create a positive space.
And that makes me also think of like long armors.
Mhm.
Like, when a long armor works on your pattern, share the long armor. Share what they did, but don't just say, "Oh, look at what this long armor did. Go check her out." Say, "I worked with this long armor." Tell a story. Let them know how you found them, why you chose them. If the long armor shared why they chose the original or not original, but the motif they chose, share that. Talk about the person as if they are a person, not just a business. Share the story on why you chose them. And some of us, like some of the pattern designers that I followed for a while, I didn't even realize they had like a family member do all of their quilts. And it was like this partnership that they were a part of that they only shared like once out of like 10 quilts. And I was like, wait, what? That's really cool. And it sets you up for like it's a marketing thing too, where it just sets you up as a great person and a valuable or a values aligned business owner, which is something that I think I personally struggle with figuring out how to put my values into practical like application. And I think this is one way that we could do it.
Yeah, yeah. And that flows right into the next aspect of partnerships is because it is just such a natural process for pattern designers who create a sample, then partner with a long armor or someone else to that may help them finish the quilt sample, which then may go to a quilt shop on display, and it just becomes this whole symbiotic, relationship. And we may bring in tech editors and people to support us in the pattern writing process, and we can start highlighting their skills and their contributions to our work as well. And so there are so many opportunities to just verbalize those partnerships that are already happening. And like you said, anytime we shine the spotlight on one aspect of it, it encourages other people and it shows them how we can continue making these business relationships and contacts.
Definitely, definitely. And, just to reverse, you can also do that with the long armor featuring the pattern,
Mhm.
which I think happens more often than vice versa. And it doesn't have to just be one post, it can be several as part of your launch to talk about what you're making. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox on that. So the next one, I love what you said about the symbiotic relationship because that's actually the next one. So it's like coming up with ways, and this may take some like some actually sitting down and talking to these different parts of the industry to figure out how best you can support each other. But one thing that we thought of was how brick and mortar shops, like the quilt shops, pattern designers and teachers, they can create co-events. So, like, when somebody comes out with an amazing technique, they can make certified teachers that can teach at these quilt shops, and quilt shops can kit the classes. And it creates this, like, relationship where everybody is benefiting. The pattern designer gets paid for her patterns, the teacher gets paid to be taught, and then the quilt shops get paid for the kits. But also they build up their community by having these classes in there. So it's like it's a great collaboration to think about different ways we can pull in different people from the industry to support each other.
Yeah, and I think it's important to actually have the conversation because I teach at my local quilt shop, and there we've been having some discussions recently about how, yes, the quilt shop is going to promote classes. Obviously, they're going to put out their newsletters, they're going to have their calendars and say this class is coming up. But it also is a responsibility of me as the teacher to be promoting my events and saying, hey, I'm going to be at XYZ quilt shop teaching this class, and I can't wait for you to join me, and have you, picked out your fabrics for this pattern. They have a great deal, and just continue lifting each other up, I think is what we are promoting in all of these different examples.
Definitely. I remember when I was in the quilt shop in Arizona, like, every week at least, and every time I long-armed, I talked about the shop. I tagged them, and I was like, "Hey, this is where the shop is, this is where I'm long arming, this is because I rented the long arm there, and then every time I taught there, I also talked about the classes. And yes, even if you are primarily an online teacher, you can still share your in-person classes because you never really know who's on your email list. It may be local people. It may be somebody who's 3 hours away that thinks that your class is totally worth driving 3 hours just so they could be in person.
Talking about that, you never know kind of thing, was I actually had a lady, I think it was she was visiting Arizona, visiting her mom here. She lived in New Jersey and she came to my long arm class in Arizona because, she just happened to be in the area. So like you said, you never know where these, family and friend connections and vacations happen, and people just get, the crazy idea that, hey, I'm going to go take a quilt class. They drop into your class. So, yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it happened to me as well with, we have a lot of snowbirds where I lived in Arizona. So I had a lot of people on my email list, that were traveling to Arizona or on their way to California where they're
Uh-huh.
like, "Hey, when are you teaching? I might stop and, like, see, like, your class." Like, so or yeah, it's you never know.
Yep. Yep. Now, the next thing on our list is very interesting. talking about sharing platforms and not just products. So, yeah, it would be great if I said, "My friend Tori wrote this great book called Workshops Unleashed. You should check it out." But it goes a step further if I invite Tori on my YouTube channel and we do a joint live broadcast and talk about the book and talk about how it can help quilt teachers.
Yes. Yes, and, like, vice versa, if I loved your ruler and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing a special on rulers, look at Andy's ruler," that's great, but if I was able to invite Andy onto our podcast, Quilting on the Side, and talk this wouldn't obviously be Andy, but we could actually do that,
Yeah.
just saying. But we could
Product
talk to Andy
focused
just
episode.
about yeah, we talk about her ruler, her patterns that go along with the ruler, what does she do in her business, and how she helps other quilters or not other quilters, but quilters, because she has all these amazing products, but we're just featuring the ruler right now. Like maybe there's a sale on the ruler, maybe she's doing a bundling opportunity. You could build her up. And again, it doesn't discredit what you're doing. It builds you up as a source of trust. It builds you up as a source of authority. And it shows, again, your values. So having not only introducing products, but also pulling them onto your platforms or sharing more about their business. It helps build everybody up.
Yeah. And this kind of side note is there is a lot of desire for that human interaction and actually seeing the person on camera in a real time type of atmosphere versus just the static post or blog or, me describing something else. Hearing it from the source in this age of AI is a high credibility factor. So the more you can put yourself out there and, take advantage of these guest opportunities. By the way, we're always looking for new quilters to feature on our podcast. So please reach out.
And I would also think about how best you can show up when somebody invites you to their platform. How can you show up and give value? And it's not just about telling them about your stuff. They also want to hear about you. So telling stories that resonate with quilters is going to be amazing. So stories about your quilts, stories about how you got started. That's why we always love to ask our guests, how did you get started with quilting or get started with whatever you're doing? Because sometimes you don't have quilters, sometimes it's more of a tech expert or something like that, or YouTuber we've had on this season. So telling your story is powerful because people don't always buy from shops. Like they don't buy from, of course, they buy from shops. I'm saying like they don't buy just a product. They buy from people. They 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 love to buy a product where they know the person. So let them get to know you. Have a few stories in your back pocket that you can pull out with these conversations. Like I have one that I talk about when I started quilting. Right. So here's an example real quick where I wanted to make a little extra money for my family at this point at a point where we moved from our permanent duty station to a training duty station where we were only there for like 7 months. So there was no way for like me to get a job because I was a teacher at that point. So transferring credentials, all that stuff, it was a mess. So I had 7 months and I wanted to create some income for my family because we had all our bills covered. But if something unexpected happens, like we needed new tires or something, we had no extra money to help with that. So I looked at my hobbies and what did I like to do? Well, I like to bake and I like to quilt. So I thought, okay, let's try cupcakes and let's try quilts and let's see which one does better. Well, I make my cupcakes tasted great, but they looked awful. So I went with quilting. So it's a short, quick story. It's funny and it lets you get to know me and why I chose quilting to start my business. So little stories like that where you can pull out for a podcast, for a show, for an interview, for a quick reel, even on Instagram or a short on YouTube can help you make more connection than just showing and be like, hey, I got a great book called Workshops Unleashed. And if you didn't know, I was also a quilt maker and I was also a pattern designer and I was also a teacher and I taught all over the world. See, Andy's face is like going, but she was laughing at my story. So think about your story. Sorry, I didn't mean to like call you out on that. You made my point. Great. So think about a few stories that you can work in to illustrate who you are and the value that you give, because that is so much more fun and it makes a much stronger connection than just sharing a ruler or sharing your book. So I've been looking into stories a lot. That's probably why I kinda dived into that. But
No, but
anyway,
that's one of the keys to, online marketing and just business in general, like you said, there are and that's one of the other interesting aspects that isn't necessarily on our list, but is so fun is when you start doing business research and learning more about marketing and all these things, I am really busy in the chat on some of these online webinars and stuff for the big name guru people, but it's fun to say, "Hey, I'm a quilter in Arizona," and someone else will say they're a quilter, in the chat while you're learning this business topic, and there you've made a connection. And so sometimes it's really important to get perspective and education outside of our little quilting bubble because it can really impact the way you do business. And there are core business principles that apply no matter what. So go out and do your research on in these other communities as well, and then you have even more connections that will make our industry stronger. One of the most fun things to do is to meet up in person, and that goes double for business collaborations. Tori and I have had a couple great events at QuiltCon, and we're looking forward to more. And you've been to H&H, so obviously tying into some of these big industry events is a natural way to have business collaborations and meetups is when everybody's already at an event, but it would be really fun to reach out in your local community and start something.
yeah.
So, what are your, brainstorms there for local biz meetups?
I think reaching out locally is a great idea. I've had a few oh, no, I've only had well, there was a plan for more than one, but right now, I've only had one meetup for my clients, and that was amazing. We had coffee together, and we talked for 2 hours, so we got she got an extra hour with me because we were just talking, and we talked about, some personal things too, and we also talked about, strategy for her marketing. But I think it's so powerful to get people together, even if it's just one other person, and just pick their mind, talk over what are you doing in your business? How are things going? What have you found locally that is helping you? What has helped with this? If you have any struggles, any challenges, just commiserating. Because right now, it's a little hard. Joanne's is out of business. We don't have that blanket of support that was out there where we had these major stores that could reach a huge population of people and make it much more accessible to get supplies for crafting. So, I mean, we can't just commiserate. Let's get coffee and get out of the basement. Like there was one, like, actually, now that I think about it, I have another friend who is local. She's like 30 minutes away, so I don't get to see her often because we are far. But I invited her to lunch the other day because I'm like, I have an idea for you, and I also have a question. So, do you want to get lunch with me? And she's like, Oh yeah. So we have lunch planned for. Well, she had car trouble, so it'll be coming up soon as her car's fixed. She's like, Let me reschedule with you when my car is fixed. So I'm excited to meet with her and kind of talk through some ideas there. But getting together, whether it's just one other person or a group of people, can be powerful. It can be validating. It can take, especially if you're an online shop or if your business is mainly online, it it makes it human again. Like I think that's the best way to put it. It makes you human again, but it also gives you a network within the local area, which can be very powerful and help you have a stronger foundation.
So some of my practical ideas for this, because my mind is just exploding, is to look for other pattern designers, long armors, teachers in your local area and reach out. Be the one to send them an email, give them a phone call and say, hey, can we meet for coffee? And like you said, and just get to know the other people doing what you do in your local area. More generically, your library, your chamber of commerce, your small business administration, those type of organizations in your towns and counties and states will have resources for you. And as we've said, it's okay to step across the line and talk to other business owners in other industries, and you're going to get a lot of great ideas and support, especially because every local community has its own flavor. We've talked about, setting up your business and having to do the research for your state licenses and taxes. Having some other business owner familiar with your state workings is going to be really, really important. And a total other side note is that along these ideas of local meetups, I just started seeing ads in Facebook for my local area with this idea of wealth walks, and they're like women solopreneurs, and they're like, sign up and we'll match you up with someone and you can just go on a walk and talk about whatever. And it's this idea that we need to have real conversations with people, not necessarily for, what can I get from you, but just connection.
And that naturally, what can I get from you? It comes naturally. You don't have to force it. Like, you could just say hello, invite them to coffee, talk about your kids, and commiserate on, "Oh my gosh, I spent so much time on the computer." And then later, they're gonna be like, "Hey, I actually had somebody who was looking for something like this, so I referred them to you." Like, it comes naturally. And networking has been a struggle for me. I'm a very and we talked about before, like, I am a huge introvert. I get very shy in more than one-on-one even in one-on-one situations. I say awkward things. I'm there's well, I don't have to go into the weird embarrassing, weird, hello and goodbyes. Goodbyes are so hard for me. I'm like, "I need to go talk to somebody over there," and I, walk away, and I'm like, "Why did I do that?" It's so anyway, practice makes better, and networking will come naturally as long as you're getting out there and meeting other people, especially in person.
Yep. Yep. So having these conversations is going to be so great. And one of these other kind of taboo topics, but that is so, so important, is your pricing. And we always say this is a great opportunity. It's time to raise your prices.
Yes,
Do it
yes,
now.
yes. We even have a whole, episode dedicated to Price to Thrive. I have an entire section of my book called Price to Thrive. It was based off of that title of our episode because I love that. But yes, if you are underpricing, you are undercutting the entire industry. Even if you are listening to this and you teach or do pattern design as a hobby or for your friends, and someone approaches you and asks you to sell what you do, please look at what the industry is pricing and price accordingly. Okay, I've been in circles with quilt guilds, and they have a lot of members who show up for free, or they show up and do 6-hour classes for $10 per student, and it's like 6 students. And it guts me because it's like, how can we support this industry if no one is willing to charge what they're worth? And I will fight against the idea that quilters cannot afford to pay for a class that shows the worth of the instructor. Because that is the argument I get back when I'm like, why did you charge $10 for a 6-hour class? And they're like, oh, well, not everyone will pay for a class that's 6 hours and like the rate you're talking about. Get yourself out of your clients' pockets because you don't know what they can afford. First off, sorry, I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, but you don't know what they can afford. And quilting is a luxury hobby. It is an industry where we have expendable income. And around that idea, you can have scholarship opportunities for people who may not have those funds. But if you are continuously undercutting your prices for teaching, for patterns, if you're selling $2 patterns when other people in your industry are selling similar patterns for $12, you're undercutting the value of what this other person is doing who hired a tech editor. And if you hired a tech, I mean, come on. Like, come on. And you're not helping the industry. You're working in this mindset of just they won't pay. And my question is, have you tried? Because try. Charge $60, $10 an hour for a for a 6-hour class. Because you're not only there providing materials, you may be providing materials. They may have to buy it separately, but you're spending 6 hours. just on that day, but think of all the prep you have to do beforehand, all the practice you might have to put in, and while you're there, you are constantly moving. Like, you are not standing still as an instructor, you are constantly go, go, go. That's a lot of energy, that's a lot to expect from you for 6 hours where you can't rest, where you may take a snack break, but you may not eat lunch because you're too busy trying to keep everybody going in the class. Like, there's so many factors to keep in mind that if you are underpricing, it just devalues the entire industry. Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
stop there.
Yeah, it just and she's passionate about it because
I
it
am.
hurts us all if we're never going to get what we're worth if we continue to settle for those low prices that are, quote, the what people will pay. So, let's just all make a commitment to price to thrive, as Tori likes to say, our favorite saying from, I think that came from Rachel Rogers.
It could have been
Yeah,
Rachel Rodgers.
yeah.
I read a lot of Rachel Rodgers, a lot of podcasts. I'm in her
Yeah,
circle a lot.
yeah. And the last thing we want to say to end on a high note is that we need to do a better job or make it more normal to celebrate our wins. And one of these collaboration areas is to support new ventures and launches. So when you see your friends launching new patterns, or, we've been talking a lot about summits and our friends that are in summits and doing these online workshops, go ahead, spread the word. It's gonna make it easier for everyone. I'm always surprised because I feel like I'm talking about things all the time and you're like, you haven't heard of that? Of course, it's everywhere, but it's not, because we know algorithms and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah,
we
liking
have committed to celebrating, just past our 75 episode milestone. So that's a good celebration time. Tori and I have committed to sharing those wins publicly.
yes.
What else about those celebrations, Tori?
So you're talking about celebrating and looking out for people's launches. I just wanna say this could be as easy as commenting on a post, like on Instagram. So one thing that I did recently was they were making this really cute ghost FPP pattern. It was just a ghost quilt block. It wasn't even like a full quilt pattern, but it was a really cute block. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is good. And I realized she had said it was like her first launch. And I've been watching her videos, and one of them was, do you have any questions? And I noticed that it got like 2 likes. And I'm like, what question would somebody need, or like, what would they need to know in order to purchase this pattern? I was like, oh, how big is this block? Like, what size does it finish? This is really cute. I'm thinking of doing this or this or this with it. And, like, she was able to not only comment and reply back to me, which helps engagement, somebody else commented on my comments. They replied to my comment, which again helps engagement, so she got more views on it, and she was able to make a video. So she got the comment, and you can reply with video both on TikTok and on Instagram. So she was able to take my comment and reply to it with another reel, which again gets her out there. It's as simple as just getting in the comments and talking about, "Ooh," not just, "Ooh, love that." Come on, you could do better than that. 5 words or more. 5 words or more. Ask them a question. Tell them about how you would love to use this pattern or what colors you would like to see. And I'm trying to be more better with this as well and doing more of that because I can see the benefit in it. And then celebrate with them when they sell the pattern, when the pattern is launched. There are now reposts on TikTok and on Instagram. Instagram has now rolled out the repost, which is really simple to just hit those 2 arrows and your feed sees that content. And it doesn't take away from whatever you're sharing, but it does help push out a message that that person is sharing. And it gives more content, more value for your audience. It's great to just do something that easy. Just like it, comment, repost it, and maybe celebrate in your newsletter. If you have a section in your newsletter where you're just like, hey, I saw this really cool pattern that somebody I kind of know is launching. Go take a look at what she's doing. You and again, it sets you up as an authority. People will open your newsletters to see the news in the quilting world if you're continuously or consistently sharing stuff like that. Like, it's not just you that they're going to be getting value from. It's also value you can give them that other people are doing. So it all works together. And if you are a quilter, so if you're just doing this as a hobby, because we know that we have a few quilters based off a few comments, we know we have people who aren't in business that listen to this podcast, you can do the same thing. Even if you are not going to buy that pattern, you can just say, hey, and ask a question that you might wonder about if you wanted to buy the pattern and just give them the opportunity to answer a question or share to your stories. Or if you have a pattern that, or you see a pattern that you know somebody's going to love, go share it with them. Like, it's going to help our industry grow. It's going to help that designer. It's going to help that long armor if she's sharing her long arming skills. It's going to help that teacher who is trying her best to reach her students online. And it's going to support our industry overall.
Yeah. Great, great ideas. And hopefully, we have given you a lot of food for thought on the contributions that each one of our listeners can make to support each other as we work to grow our businesses and do a little quilting on the side.
That's a wrap on today's conversation. We hope it gave you something real to take back to your business.
And if you liked this episode, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. It helps more quilters find the show and feel a little less alone on their entrepreneurial journey.
And if you want more support from behind the scenes content to live chats, you'll find more in our Quilting on the Side community on Patreon. And as always, don't forget to do
A little
quilting
quilting on the side.